Unfortunately, it was also raining heavily today. Woong Chol and his teammate immediately went out to ambush at the victim's house. Woong Chol just arrived and bumped into someone. When Woong Chol entered the house, he suddenly saw blood on his hands. Thinking that he had just bumped into the man in black, he immediately went out to chase after this guy. The murderer knew he had been exposed and immediately ran away. Woong Chol called the walkie-talkie while chasing after him. Gutak's group arrived at this time, and they immediately split up to chase after the murderer. Gutak saw someone and immediately hit them, but after hitting them, he realized that they were Woong Chol's subordinates. Woong Chol chased for a while and lost track of the culprit. Suddenly, a man in black rushed in and stabbed him. Luckily, the knife was caught by Woong Chol. The culprit quickly hit him in the eye and ran away. At this moment, Jung Moon suddenly appeared, but he did not go after the culprit but chose to stay and save Woong Chol. The culprit had completed his goal today, and indeed he collected blood samples for his collection. The next day, the killer Tae-soo came to the crime scene. He thought the victim was the girl Sok, so he was extremely heartbroken. Because Sok was the girl, he asked his old boss to transfer money to every month. Unexpectedly, when he pulled the zipper open, it was another girl. Tae-soo felt extremely relieved. He stood up and found Sok standing in front of him. Sok did not know that Tae-soo was the one who killed her husband. She only saw him looking at her with a regretful expression. Everyone returned to the base to prepare for the next step. Suddenly, Gutak received important news. They discovered fingerprints on the victim. The murderer was the gang leader that Woong Chol had just recruited. The media immediately reported that the serial killer had been arrested, but Jung Moon believed that the gang leader was definitely not the murderer, because the real murderer would not leave fingerprints, and Tae-soo also knew that the person arrested was one mate tall. This did not match his judgment. At this moment, it was raining heavily outside. Tae-soo saw this and immediately ran outside. Because the only survivor at this time was the girl Sok, she was in danger. Sure enough, Sok was being followed by the murderer at this time. The shop owner locked the door and bumped into her, causing the fruit bag to fall to the ground. He offered to personally take Seok home, but Seok politely refused. Unexpectedly, he kept holding the bag and refused to let go, and his eyes showed a terrifying murderous look. In the blink of an eye, he chased after Sok and knocked Sok out. It turned out that the real murderer was the locksmith. He grabbed Seok's hair and dragged her away like a trophy. The locksmith pulled out a knife and prepared to kill Sok. Just in time, the assassin Tae-soo arrived in time. He used one hand to knock out the murderer. Tae-soo didn't know that the murderer was the locksmith. He only knew that he had killed 22 people. Tae-soo went crazy and continuously hit the murderer until he had no more strength to resist. Tae-soo was about to kill this evil murderer. Unexpectedly, when he was about to act, Gutak suddenly stopped him. It turned out that everything was part of Gutak's plan. Tae-soo was extremely angry when he found out that Gutak